Okay, back for another video. This is a UK FLHX Street Glide, which you've seen me modify previously with the Chinese Daymaker and the Plasti Dip on a few things. Now, on the UK and Canada models, in fact the international models of the bikes, the tri-bar, as you can see here, does not light up at all. In fact, if you look inside, there is absolutely nothing in there at all. So what we're going to do is remove it from the bike, which you can see I've already done there. The first thing you want to do is you take the back off. The first thing you want to do is take the back off this which is this here. That actually covers the back. Just turn this over. So this is the back of it. This unclips off. I'll just put that aside, and then you can see at the top here and here there's two screws which you'll unscrew. They're a T25 screw. Unscrew those. It'll drop down like this. So there you go, you can see this one has dropped down, and then all you want to do is unplug the output side, which is there, and the input side, and there's the input side coming from the bike harness. Unplug those and set your tri-bar on your bench and you can get to work. So the first thing we're going to do is to unscrew the back, and then we'll start work taking off the lens. So this is it after you've got it apart into three pieces. As you can see, you got the lens at the front that comes off. It's not quite as easy as you may think, and apply a bit of heat all the way around, and you can kind of wiggle a screwdriver to some parts just to start prising it off, and it'll just start to peel off nicely, the front one. The rear one was a little bit more difficult to get off. You can see obviously it's held on with some good sealant and glue. So that's the part there. You can see now we've got the lens off the front. You can see at the top there, those three posts, that's where you would slide in the stock LED circuit board, and the little square there is where the wiring would come back out and then obviously attached to the circuit board on this side. Now, what I've already done is I've taken off the screws to show you. There's a screw here, here and here which holds the circuit board in. So this is the UK model, which is the same as the Canadian model, and that's all it is. There you go. So you can see the input and output on there. If I turn it over, where you see the pins, there's really nothing to it. There is nothing ingenious going on here at all. It's literally an input and an output, and I think it's kind of swaps the wires over to certain different locations. So what I'm going to do with this, I'll solder the wires from my donor light, which I had off eBay. It has LEDs all through the front, so I'm going to take the LEDs out of that one and install them here, route the wires through the back, and I will then wire them up to the appropriate pins on here, which I will show you as I do them. So this is the Chinese tri-bar light I got off eBay. As you can see, it comes with connectors here. If I just get rid of those two, I'll explain those in a second. These are the three that we're worried about. We've got black ground, and on this particular one the blue is the running light, the yellow is the brake. The other two you see here are actually for indicators. This model has indicators, so you could wire those up as well if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going for the running and brake on here. So as you can see, this comes with a connector block which I've already cut off. It actually would fit into your tool pack harness, which you will find under your left hand side fairing of the bike. You can take it off. This will plug straight in. I've tested it, and it will work. However, I want a nice neat solution, so I'm going to install the LEDs from this into what you saw just a minute ago, the original housing, As you can see, there's a nice hole there for the wiring to go through. I was hoping, I've already taken the back off, this just unscrews, it pulls out. I wouldn't recommend using this Chinese copy straight out of the box because there is absolutely no sealant whatsoever. You can just take the 2 screws out, it all comes apart, which is not good. So if you are going to use it straight out of the box and do some sort of a hack to put it into the touring pack harness, take it apart and seal it up. I'm not doing that, so I've taken the back off, I've cut the connector off, I've taken the wire out. Unfortunately this won't fit in there because the reflector that comes with it is just too big. So as you can see, I've already actually taken the LEDs out of here. So that's your row of LEDs. There's dual intensity red, so for the running and brake, and then the little LEDs you can see next to it are actually for the indicators for either side. So what we'll do is we'll thread this through the hole and we'll go from there. Okay, so once you've threaded the cable through, obviously we won't need it at this length, we'll decide on that once we start soldering, but as you can see, it threads through nicely. This will then fit very well into there. You can see the angle of those LEDs will be very good once we get the smoked cover back on it. This should work out quite nice, so we'll get this all back together. I'm not sure yet how we're going to secure this, possibly some hot glue just to get it secure in place. I'll reuse the rubber bung there to thread it back through the hole, just to give it, that little bit of water tightness there. And we'll see how we go. And here we go, we just sort of threaded the wire through the back with some of the rubber bung there, and it's all just sort of tacked in with some hot glue in the 4 corners. When you do this, I recommend leaving the gap at the top there so that when the lens is pushed back on the front, there's 2 little prongs that will fit just above there. Okay, so I thought I'd quickly, before I do any wiring, go through what's what on the circuit board. So this is the circuit board. It's very basic, and I just wanted to show you really the plug. So here's the plug, and you can see hopefully that there's actually 6 pins either side. Now the bottom 2 are actually blank. There's no connectors in there at all, so there's actually only 5 active on the output side that go to the light. There are 12 pins on the actual circuit board itself, but again, although they pass through, nothing actually happens with those 2. Anyway, on to what does what. Now we only want to tap into one side, so I've already electrically tested what does what in the lamp. Now on this cable, so I'll show you this side, you can see there's a little nodule there which shows you which way it plugs into here. You can see the receiving indentation up there, so that means it plugs in that way. So looking at this side, go from number 2 slot from the bottom. The bottom one is black, which normally I would assume to be a ground, however it's not. That actually powers the license plate light. The next one along, yellow. Yellow is actually our ground, so I put a wire into here from a 12-volt battery I've got lying around, ground onto that, and then I put the live onto the red, which powers the brake light, and then by putting a live onto the white, that powers the running light. So we've got the 3 connectors that we need. And here we have the wire now. I cut down the length to match what I needed. I've soldered on to the 3 prongs that we talked about. The colours, unfortunately, on the Chinese lamp don't match the colours of the Harley Davidson LED light bar, but it's easy enough to figure it out. You know, just get yourself a 12-volt battery, apply the ground, which in this case is the black cable. Yellow is brake and blue is running light. And there you go. I did test it quickly as well with the light bar that you saw earlier. I plugged the light bar in there, and then I just, to make sure that these solders were good this side, I applied power to the relevant pins here, so ground and then the brake or the running light, to make sure that it worked, and both the light bar for the bike and these lit up as expected. So that's all good, everything is working fine. So we'll go ahead now and screw this back to the back plate. Then we'll stick the back plate back on and stick the lens back on, make sure it's sealed up with some good watertight sealant, and we'll connect to the bike. So what we're going to do now is quickly run a bead of silicone around this joint here and this joint here. We'll sandwich it all back together, we'll plug it into the bike, and it should all be good. And here we go, this is the test. Side lights first, and brakes all come on perfect. Everything still works as it should. Indicators with the brakes on, other indicator. So yeah, job done.